Welcome, everyone. This is the Wandering Dragonflies podcast. We are all about books, coffee, and convos with besties.
I'm Mandy.
And I'm Emily.
And this is our first podcast via video. So we're nervous and excited.
Welcome, welcome. This is something different. We used to have, we do have a podcast with books, coffee, convos with besties on Spotify. So if you're interested in some of our older reviews of some books, go ahead and check there. We will also be posting these on there as well. And but this is our first video.
Yeah, as the Wandering Dragonflies.
Yes.
We changed up our name because we're best friends. We've been best friends since we were 5 years old.
40 years.
I wasn't gonna say how long, but Emily just aged.
I'm proud of that. Okay.
We both have matching tattoos, which are dragonflies. We're both fans of the Gilmore Girls, so if there's anybody else out there who's fans of the Gilmore Girls, welcome. You're very welcome here. And so, the Wandering Dragonflies, we're looking to just build a happy, joyful community around those who also enjoy books, and coming together. We definitely need some joy, especially right now, so that's why we're excited to have you all here with us.
Yep. If you love to talk about books, read books, or just even to find out if something that you're interested in reading, you have a huge TBR list of books and you're not sure which one to read next, we're hoping that we can help you with making that decision.
That's me.
Me too. Yeah. Even my kids keep telling, you don't need to buy another book.
The meme, Death by TBR.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's us.
And then having the time. So we're going to get started, and the first book that we are going to be introducing is The Reminders of Him by Colleen Hoover. Here's our Vanna White display. And we will be also talking about the movie as well. This book did just get a movie release. It came out to everyone. Yeah, Friday was the release date. We actually got to see it on Thursday. So that was fun. And like Mandy said, we're huge Gilmore Girl fans. So, Lauren Graham was in it. So that was really exciting to see as well. So we are going to get started with The Reminders of Him by Colleen Hoover.
And warning, this is not spoiler free. So if you clicked on this, you're going to learn a whole bunch of stuff. Our opinions on the book, what we thought, our opinions on the movie, what we thought. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, you might want to come back to our video and then watch it, because we are going to give some spoilers. So
yes, yeah. And please leave comments, and we would love to see your thoughts. If you've seen the movie, read the book, or neither, and you were just interested to know more about it, please leave your comments. We would love to hear from you. So.
Exactly, that's what we said. We want to build our community, so chat with us. We want to know what you thought.
Yes. So let's get started. All right.
You want to ask the first question?
Sure. First question that we have is, what was your first impression of Kenna when we meet her fresh out of prison? Did you feel sympathy for her right away, or did it take some time?
So for me, I knew, like, in reading the book that my first impressions of her was that, she was only in prison for 7 years. So right away I kind of had this thought that, I assumed that the reason why she was in there couldn't have been for anything super malicious, like any kind of malicious situation. Mm-hmm. And that, right away she seems very remorseful. And, she's seeking out the coffee house that she went to with Scotty. So right away my mind is kind of already wondering, like, what is her gig? What's her what did she do? Her story? That like, yeah. What happened? Like, what, that's already what my mind is thinking. And so my first impressions of her were, I felt like there was more to Kenna than what really met the eye. And so I wasn't really ready to fully make any judgments of her.
Right. That's how I felt too. I felt troubled and sad for her, mainly because we didn't know exactly what happened. We just knew that she was involved in the death of Scotty. We knew right away that she clearly had feelings for Scotty.
Yeah.
And that she loved him, but we didn't know what would have caused her to have gone to prison for his death. And so I felt a little sad for her and troubled, but as the book went on, then I felt really remorseful and just like my heart broke for her as it went on. But yeah, I didn't, because they left it up in the air.
Yep.
But I think that was good. That's the kind of the idea. And I felt the same way with the movie. I felt like the same, they portrayed that very well, that she's suffering.
Yep.
She rips out his cross on the memorial because she said he never liked those things, and she wanted to honor that, and stuff like that. So you knew that her heart was for Scotty, that she clearly cared about what he felt. For her.
And so that's exactly what you're thinking, is you're like, okay, so if she still really loves him and she's really wanting to honor him and that he would hate that, like what is really going, like what is the real story? 100% exactly. And when it comes to the movie, I think if you have not read the book, she could come off different in the movie, because the movie starts as an opening where she goes and she rips out the cross and she appears angry and frustrated. So if you hadn't read the read the book, I feel like you could get a different impression of her. Who is she this? And what? Yeah. Like what? And you probably maybe would think that she is troubled and guilty, and so I think you really could get a totally different impression if you hadn't read the book. But for those who have read the book, you totally understand completely what is happening in the movie. I'll be curious
what people have to say who just
watched the movie. Yeah. Like what their impression of her is, because now that because we obviously read the book. We read the book first, so it was making sense to us. But now that I'm thinking of it, if you were someone who didn't, she would come off totally different.
She would have.
The impression of her fresh out of prison, she would come off totally different.
Because that's all you see is her sitting in a taxi, gets out,
and she's like
rips out this,
angry, ripping it out, and she's flustered,
leaves the flowers trampled on the ground. Yeah.
But in the book, you're understanding her thought process, what she's thinking, why she's doing it, but none of that is understood in the movie.
Yeah. That's good. All right.
I'll do the second one. Okay. So kind of throughout the book, she writes over 300 letters to Scotty while in prison. What did those letters reveal about her, and did they change how you viewed her?
So I felt that it showed a really in-depth view of how she really felt about Scotty. I loved the letters. I thought that was a really neat way to write the book for Colleen Hoover, to really show the character of Kenna. That she really loved him, and that she was really sorry for what happened, even before we knew the actual story of how it happened. Hearing, I love the scene where she is at her job the first time he walks in, and then buys a plate, and then leaves the store, then comes back, buys another plate, leaves the store, does it a few times. And so it just really showed the true feelings of how she felt about him and how Scotty felt about her. Yeah. Or her views of how Scotty felt. She felt loved and adored by Scotty. And so in that sense, did it change how I viewed her guilt? When you first read it, you're still wondering. When I was reading it before she tells Scotty or tells Ledger about what happened, before we find out what happened, I kept saying, she keeps talking about the prison, and you're always hearing about it, and that Patrick and Grace are upset with her, and she'll never get to see the DM and stuff. I'm sitting here, I'm like, these letters, she was really in love with him, and he really adored her. Yeah. And clearly loved her as well. So I kept saying, there's got to be a catch. Yeah. This isn't something she did that she was truly guilty of. But then I kept wondering, then why was she arrested?
Yeah.
Why was she, even if she got arrested for something, why was she sentenced to 7 years? Like, she didn't serve the full 7 years, but why did she get sentenced to 7 years in prison? Like, that seems so much. So it just kept having me guess, like, and figure out what could have happened. It had to be an accident. Everything leads to that. And then when you get that letter and you find that out too, it just completely confirmed that she was completely innocent, and it was not something that, I mean, yes, they did get high, and yes, they were drinking, and she admits to that, but when she left, it wasn't on purpose, you know, and so that's how I felt about it.
Same. I thought it, I agree, it did change my view of her, and I think agree with Emily that there's a question coming up later about the writing style of the book, so I don't want to go too much into that, but I think the letters was a huge component of the book because it really lets you into her mind and into her thought process and what she's thinking and feeling. So I also, with Emily, was a huge fan of that, and so basically echo everything Emily says is because you basically understand and know that, you know, she did not, you know, murder Scotty out of anger or spite. It was absolutely nothing malicious. Whatever happened, you know, had to have been a complete accident. Like, even though we don't know what went on, we have to know that it was definitely not something that was planned or, you know, meant to happen. And I know you mentioned the scene where she's telling the story of how she met Scotty in her letters, and I just want to say, you know, the movie like nails that.
Yeah.
The movie nails that.
It really did. Yeah, they did a really good job with that.
Yeah. And even the movie, like, with her writing her letters, and like, I think that, you know, the movie really hit on that as well. I think just in general, I'll make a blanket statement to say that, and I don't always say this with a lot of movies, but I think this movie did the book justice.
I agree. There's definitely changes.
There's changes.
You have to.
Yeah.
We have to always remember there's going to be changes that are from the book to the movie because
you have to shorten it.
You have to shorten it. They can't go into as much detail. But I agree. They definitely did a great job portraying the book.
Yeah. You're right.
My turn?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think Ledger was too quick to forgive Kenna, or was his character believable?
Okay, so
I have some feelings on that one.
Same here. So my answer was perhaps. So I was kind of mixed on it. So here's where this might be a controversial response. Yeah. And it's actually maybe even my final rating could be a very controversial response compared to... That's why I'm curious to see what all of you think and even what Emily thinks. But I actually prefer the movie in this way more than the book, because I think it was actually a little bit more convincing in the movie than in the book. Although I will say that the scene where Kenna is reading the letter to Ledger is changed slightly, and I do think that would have been better if it fully followed the book. But I understand, like Emily said, why it probably got switched up a little bit. But otherwise, I'm basically... The reason why I say that is that it seemed like they really... they throw themselves on each other a little too quickly. And as you're just starting to get to learn Kenna in the book, all of a sudden, you know, she's kind of all over Ledger, and he's all over her, and they're making out, and they're having these makeout sessions, and she knows who he is, but he doesn't know who she is. And then all of a sudden, you're kind of having mixed feelings about Kenna. Or I was, because just as I was starting to think, like, what is her real story? Like, well, she really loves this guy. And then all of a sudden you're like, ooh, it gets kind of cringy to me, because you're like, okay, well, now she is being kind of slutty and like, and this is his best friend and lying to him. And then you're like, ooh, well, maybe she's not as decent of a person as you. And then you're wondering, well, maybe this is what the book wants you to think. But in the movie, it's portrayed completely different, where obviously they still love each other, but it's portrayed in a way that I would imagine most of us eventually fall in love. Like, they kind of almost, it's more of a friend progression. And when she goes to work with him, he's slowly starting to really like her, get to know her, fall in love with her, and same with her. And that was more believable. So, and I think that's what made it more, the movie made it more believable that he would be quick to forgive her, because he really got to know Kenna, whereas the book seemed a little quick and sudden. However, he does also get to know her. So, and they made a connection. So that was kind of my thought.
Yeah.
I don't know what your thoughts are.
Mine are a little different. I don't feel it was too quick to forgive her, because in my sense of, technically it had been 5 to 6 years since Scotty had passed, and when he started forgiving her, you can tell in the book when he started to open up with her. Obviously it was more after she read the letter, but I felt like, okay, I mean, that it's still 5 to 6 years, you have to deal with it, and now he's gotten to get to know her. When they first met and they made out in the truck, and she finds out that it is his best friend, Scotty's best friend, that seemed really fast to me when I was reading it. I was like, whoa. Yeah. Then I started thinking, well, she was in prison and she has not had any kind of physical or any kind of emotional attention there, because she had been alone for so many years. So I can see the attraction coming in a little bit quicker for her in that sense. For him, I just looked at it as he is a 20-year-old guy. So he saw this hot woman walk in, and it, to me, that sometimes seems realistic in that sense. Like, he just thought, ooh, booty call. Like, right. She's hot, and didn't know who she was, so he moved on. So it wasn't him getting too involved. But then when he finds out that she is Kenna, because I kept thinking, like, how does he not recognize her? Like, did he not go to the court hearings? Right. But then you realize, you have to remember that he only saw a mugshot of her, and she looked so distraught and so not Kenna. And so then you have when he gets over the shock of it, and it's like his mind can't get past it. There were parts where I was like, this dude, you got to step back a little bit, because he kept wanting, like, they made out a few times in the book, like he'd go to her place and they would end up kissing, and it was like, Ledger, stop. Like, you need to step back a little bit. And then but on Kenna's part, I could see how that temptation was happening, because of, she hasn't had that for so long. But then I felt like once he did go through some anger, the anger was realistic for me, and everything like that. I do agree with Mandy on the movie. They don't make out in the truck. She sees the truck, she bolts. He couldn't figure out why.
It's a slower progression.
It is a slower progression. So I really liked that about the movie, because I felt like, especially as like of a movie critic, like people would go in there and be like, whoa, like you would really do that. So I did think like that was a really good call on like Colleen Hoover and the people who made the movie to just be like, let's have her recognize the orange truck. Let them
start to like each other over time.
Yes.
Like, it would probably be more realistic.
Yeah.
And it was.
I mean, the relationship did grow kind of fast regardless on both sides of it. but I think it's because those
They
letters.
share a love of DM too, I think.
Yeah.
So maybe that's, and she sees how much he loves her. So maybe that's why.
Maybe
it grew
that's
a little faster.
Yeah,
you know?
like we have to remember. Yeah, DM's a big part of it. She sees that he is that father role that DM needs. He's that protector. She witnessed some moments of how much he loves DM, how he sacrificed so much, and this is all coming up soon. But I agree. Like I feel like that's probably why the relationship moved as quick as it did.
Right.
So in the grand scheme, I don't feel it was too quick, but in the relationship, I did feel it was like, dude, you gotta.
The relationship was a little quick, but the forgiveness.
I didn't feel like it was too fast, but I do feel like the relationship did move. Quite quickly.
Agreed. So Grace and Patrick are positioned as obstacles, but they're also grieving parents. Were you sympathetic, frustrated with them, or both?
Okay, so I felt like Grace and Patrick had the right with their worries. I felt like their frustrations were legit. I felt that I don't know if I was frustrated with their feelings as a parent. And now I have 2 teenage sons. One that's in a very great relationship. He's driving. He's 16, turning 17. And that thought came in, those scary realizations of your kids out driving and all of a sudden something happens. I just felt like I'm not going to get frustrated with their grief because I couldn't imagine. That's the worst thing that could ever happen to anybody, is to have to bury their kid before you're long gone. And so for me, with their frustration and worry with Kenna coming in and taking DM, I understood that in a sense. I felt like I'm more sympathetic with them. And it really showed. I mean, they played it in the movie almost perfectly. It was
great. The way they did
the way they did it, the way they showed that suffering even in their faces. Like Lauren Graham, you usually see her on Gilmore Girls, and it's like, wow. And then you see her in this, and it's like, wow, does she look like a grieving mother? Like she looks lost. She just portrayed it so great. And even the actor too, Patrick's, like it was really good how they portrayed that. But I just sat there and I really sympathized with them. I felt that they're jumping into when I first read that they got a restraining order, that was after the incident in the parking lot, if I remember correctly. And part of me was like, okay, that seems a little harsh. The other part of me was like, well, I know they contacted their lawyer. And so I started, in the movie, I was like, okay, they said they're going to contact their lawyer, and then they have this restraining order on her. It's probably because the lawyer said, you need to get this. This isn't something that they just said, we're getting a restraining order. Right. So it was hard for me to get past that because I thought, and then I had to go back and be like, wait a minute. They're worried about DM. They're not worried about them so much seeing her. This is all about DM safety. And that's a lot because I loved how they kept DM to think that this is what life is like, where she's living a normal life. She's got her Ledger, she's got her Nana and her Nanu, like that, or Nona. Is it Nona? Nono? I can't remember. Nanu or Nono? I can't remember. I have a friend who her kids call their grandfather Nanu, so I'm like, I don't think that's right. I think it's Nono, but I can't remember. But her grandfather, because she said that's not grandpa. And I felt like they were trying to give her the most normal life, that she thought this was right. But I've even told Mandy that when kids hit about 4 and 5, because I'm an early educator, like childhood educator and stuff like that, they get to about 4 and 5 years old, where they start asking questions about, like, okay, so mommy's brother is so and so, and they start questioning, like, who fits into this role? Like, who's my family? And you see that with DM. She starts questioning, where's my mommy when she gets a bigger car? Wait, what?
Right.
Well, that's what Nana says, a bigger car. And I thought that was really sweet, because to tell a little one that, well, your mom's in prison, and then she has to, that would go to school.
Right.
She would see her friends, and she's seeing them with their mommies, and then that's too much. Like, I think they did an amazing, exceptional job to protect DM and to make sure that she's not being, because she knew her daddy was gone.
Yep.
And that they were daddy's family.
Yep.
And so so for me, I didn't have a frustration with them. I was just clearly sympathetic with them.
I was a little bit of both, but completely sympathetic with them for all of the reasons that Emily lists. My only frustration came in when they didn't really want to hear Ledger out. That was where my frustration came in, because as we all know from like the best friend's perspective, like speaking from my best friend perspective with being, linked to Emily for 40 years, I know why they were mad at him, and that makes complete sense. But also, Ledger was trying to get them to listen, because we all know that even if you've got a great relationship with your parent, and even if your parent is, whether you have a good relationship or a bad, but even if you have an amazing relationship with your parent, and your parent is almost like a good friend or a best friend, you're still going to be telling more things to your best friend. So I just feel like, Ledger has that little extra of like struggle kind of being in that middle, where he knows Scotty, he knows Patrick and Grace, and now he knows Kenna, and so he's trying to like play the field of everybody. And so I just kind of felt a little frustrated that while I do have sympathy across the board for everybody and what was going on, I'm glad that they eventually did.
He forced it
on them and was like, here's her journal, you need to do this. And I'm glad that he was smart enough to do that. And again, the movie plays that out perfectly. Yeah. Movie plays it out perfectly. So that's really the only place the frustration came in. But then even the movie, I'm trying to even remember how it's portrayed in the book, but I'd have to even go back and look. But I don't, like, the movie really portrays out like Patrick coming and saying that he's sorry. Does the book say that? Does Patrick say he's sorry?
Later, after he hit him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I couldn't remember that, but yeah. So
but he hit him in the him in the book, he hit him in the front yard.
Yeah.
Because he finds out, but in the movie he hits him at Ledger's new house that he's building.
So it's slightly different, like I said, because they've got to make the movie a little bit smaller, a little bit shorter, obviously. So there's some things that are a little different, but again, the movie still just portrays the story as well as it possibly can.
Yeah.
So eventually they are like, hey, we're really sorry and we're glad you made us see.
Yeah.
But then that brings it full circle where, they were willing to listen to him, because I think they realized, like, this is Ledger.
I felt like Grace was more willing.
Yep.
Than Patrick.
Yeah.
On both sides. Like, Patrick, I was frustrated when he did punch him. Like, I understood it. I got it.
Patrick was
so I was sympathy, but
what is that phrase? Hard-headed?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Grace was more
and
like,
Grace was like that motherly thing,
you see her
where it's like
in the movie laying in bed and she's just like thinking.
That's when all the tears start.
The journal's laying next to her and she's like, the movie just portrays it so well.
Yeah.
It portrays it so well. And
really
he's
does.
like, I've given my life to DM. And I've done it for Scotty, and and it's just like, and I think she, and And I think that's why it was frustrating, is because he has done that for DM, and he has done that to help Grace and Patrick. And he also does other things to help Grace and Patrick, like warn them she's here.
Mm-hmm.
Warn them she's working at the grocery store. Get out of here. Warn them, so he has also protected DM and warned Grace and them of her being there.
Yeah.
And actually take Kenna into his work for a twofold situation. Give her a job, allow her to help herself and correct herself, but two, it's really so he can make sure where she is and make sure that she's not going to be anywhere where she shouldn't be. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
That's an easy way to be like,
mm-hmm.
I know Grace isn't going to run into her, Patrick isn't going to run into her. I'm sure that was probably one of his main motives, if the book was written from his perspective, I'm sure that's what he was probably thinking in his mind, I could watch her. I think the movie kind of portrays that.
The movie portrays that a little bit more.
Kind of what
you get more of an idea of what Ledger's actually thinking. Yeah, I agree. I do think that's true. Okay. The book touches on whether a terrible mistake should define someone forever. Where did you land on that by the end?
No, I don't think that a terrible mistake should define someone forever. I think, like Grace puts it herself, because she basically says, it's time to just move forward.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's move forward. And things will heal naturally in time. And so I think, all of them share a single bond, and that's their love for Scotty. And so I think ultimately what all of them needed to understand, Ledger, Grace, and Patrick, was they didn't have any closure.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't understand Kenna's perspective that day because she was basically silent. And so I think if you are remorseful, we've all been in those situations where, I'm sure we all are familiar, like probably almost all of us, with, even that Chris Watts case, that was a huge one. And like when you see those people go to court and they're sitting there and they say nothing, they just sit there with their head
mm-hmm.
down. They're like, would you like to say anything? Nothing. And then the parents are just sitting there like wondering, why did you take out my family? So that's basically where Ledger, Patrick, and Grace were coming from. But now they know, they have more of the story. And so I think that's why Grace is like, we can move forward. And I think as long as you're remorseful and you can talk about it and move forward. If you're a dick, no.
Don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick.
I agree a lot with you on that. I really do. It's exactly what it is. It's a mistake.
Yeah.
What happened was truly a major mistake. Now, somebody who goes out and purposely murders somebody, right, you don't have to. Yeah. I really believe in forgiveness, and I feel like it's the way for myself to heal from something traumatic or very horrible, even if it wasn't necessarily a mistake. But in this sense, it was a terrible mistake. It was something where it could have been him driving, and the situation still would have happened. For the most part, you don't know because he wasn't driving. And I feel that punishing for someone for life because of a mistake is not okay. But it takes time. It takes time to heal. Yeah. It takes time to grieve and understand those mistakes. I agree with Mandy wholeheartedly. It comes down to she thought I deserve to be punished. Mm-hmm. Okay. I understand that grieving part that Kenna's going through. She felt like, I'm not going to say anything. I need to be punished. This is my fault. I loved him. I never would have left him if I didn't think he was gone yet. She didn't realize, but she needed to say something.
Mm-hmm.
You can't get upset with Grace and Patrick and Ledger if you're just sitting there and they ask you, how do you plead, or tell us what happened. She should have spoken up.
Yeah.
She should have said something, because it was a mistake.
Yeah.
Even if she said it was a mistake, it really was a mistake. But to sit there and just stare at your hands, or just stare into space, whatever you're doing.
And Ledger makes her realize that eventually.
Yeah, that it was, you should have said something, because all these years while you were in prison,
we've been suffering.
We've been suffering because you're suffering. It's not just you. And they had to try to not suffer for Diem. Mm-hmm. And that's the other side of it too, is, so yeah.
And that actually transitions us right into the next question, mm-hmm. which we'll probably answer rather quickly because we've kind of been talking about it, but it's basically the book reflects on how Scotty's absence haunts everyone. Kenna, Diem, Ledger, his parents, and whose grief did you feel the most, and why?
Okay, so quickly, again, this one is, my grief hit all of them. As a mom of two, I understand that. You don't even have to be a parent to mm-hmm. physical children. You love kids. You care about them. My nieces and nephews, I'd feel the same way. It's just how that is. I feel that with Ledger, my best friend's right here. Mm-hmm. And my other one, our other best friend, since we were 5, it's been the 3 of us. If anything happened to her and we had to take on her little one, she's not so little anymore, she's a teenager, but if we had to, we would do it. For me, so then, I don't know why, but in the movie, that hit me really hard emotionally to see, I don't know if there was a part in the movie, it was just the 2 of us, which was really fun because we were
well, it was Thursday night, late Thursday night. I don't even know.
The movie hasn't officially been released yet. We got to see it.
So it's just the 2 of us, so we got to kind of talk in the movie theater.
And there's this part where Ledger is
bawling,
talking about how he had, because Kenna found out that he gave up his fiance and because she didn't want to share with Diem. And so Ledger is and I looked at Mandy and I'm like, I feel that
how can you not
the friendship, right? The friendships that cute. He's pretty hot. But it just I looked at her, I'm like, man, I would do the same thing if it was you or if it was Amanda. It would, there's no question. And I don't know how I would handle myself. My grief would be, because it's not just best friends, your siblings, your family. Mm-hmm. My kids call them auntie and uncle for a reason. We are family. And so my heart really, I just felt for Ledger in that sense. And then my grief is for Diem. Yeah. Every child needs a mommy and a daddy. And she was starting to realize, where's my mommy? Yeah. And stuff. Right. So your heart, you just want to hug her. She's so cute. Yeah. But so.
Yeah, and we basically kind of touched on it, the whole note, Diem, your heart, the movie, the book didn't make me feel as much for Diem as the movie. Yeah. The movie made me feel more for Diem because, I'm sorry, that little girl in that movie is freaking adorable.
And then you see the vision of her looking at other mommies and her friends, and then that's when you're like,
and it's oh my gosh, the movie really brings her to life. In the book, I was feeling more for Ledger and the parents. Mm-hmm. Again, because of what I was saying for he lost his best friend, his buddy for life, and the parents, and they're older and wiser, and they've obviously been around a lot longer and had that connection with Scotty and didn't have that closure, whereas Diem's so little, no one understand any of that.
Yeah, my grief was the loss of her mother, I think, from more than anything. Yeah. I agree. The writing element, using Kenna's letters to Scotty is a unique structural choice. How did it affect your reading experience?
I loved it.
Me too. Yeah. That's pretty much what I wrote.
I think that's what made the book.
Yeah. Yeah. Because the way that Colleen changes just how she is, and then how you the writing in the letters, it was like, you really know how she's feeling. You really get a sense of who she is
So
and
Emily
what's in her heart.
had started the book before me. And then she was like, warning, you're probably going to cry. And I was like,
Get
oh,
Kleenex.
great. So I started reading it. And then all of a sudden, at one point, I flipped the page. And once you flip the page, and then it's like, Dear Scotty, I'm like, oh, shit.
Told ya. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, no. She writes to him. And that, again, is kind of how I knew, like, okay, what? That, again, going back to the very first question, like, she can't be the super guilty woman. She's
right?
still in love
What's
with
the
him
catch?
and writing him love letters. And just to say, one of my favorite parts is near the very end when she writes him that letter. And she's like, I just had sex with your best friend.
Yeah, that's great. That was
so
great.
funny. And then he's like, Ledger's like, but...
It was great, but don't
But
worry.
it was
doesn't
me,
compete
right?
to you.
And then she's like, sure.
I love that she
funny.
shared that letter with him.
Yeah.
That she was open to sit with Ledger and read it because she was comparing. She's like, it was great, but no one compares to you. That just shows that, no one's replacing him.
Yeah, exactly.
And that relationship that she had with him. So we just thought that was great. And to see that in the movie was...
But it just lets you into her inner thoughts and feelings. Like all of us writing in... Like, we bought cute little journals for our little podcast, and we write our thoughts and feelings of the book, and that's what this did, is it opened us up to that and what she's thinking and feeling, and so we both loved it.
I agree.
Okay, Emily.
This is it.
Our last question, if you had to pick one moment in the book that was the most emotional for you, which would it be?
The letter to Scotty in the book. Okay, so this is for the book. Okay, in the book, it was when he takes her to go get snow cones, and they're in the car, and he goes, "I need to know what happened." And she always carries her letters with, so she read the letter of what happened. I cried. I was like, now I wasn't ugly crying. But because my husband and my kids were home, and my husband comes down and he's like, "Are you okay?" "I'm fine, go away." Very sad moment. Because then, like, there's parts where all of a sudden it comes away from the letter as she's reading it. And it's like Scotty's white knuckling it in the car, and then he had to pull over, and he's just holding the wheel, and he's just hearing it all. It was like, and you now know that she hit her head, like, she wasn't thinking, and this was all an accident. Why was she quiet? Like, all the anger, all of the frustrations for her, it just came pouring out.
And she even says, like, she didn't really get that
she
high.
blacked
She
out.
didn't even really want to do it. And, and that the music was really loud, and she was on a road she didn't feel comfortable driving down.
It was at night. They weren't going. She didn't want to leave. She goes, maybe we should wait. And he's like, not blaming Scotty, but it's just, it was hearing that everything was always blame Kenna. Yeah. And, it really was a mistake. And
an accident.
A huge accident. Then...
that she was trying to flag help and nobody was stopping to
No
help
one
her.
was stopping. What the hell? You see a woman banged up and bloody walking in a dark street?
And nobody's
stopping. Stop, okay? FYI, everyone, please stop. But, yeah, so that was my most in the book. Then they did it different in the movie. Yeah. In the movie, they were at his house. They had just had sex, and he asks to read it. Mandy and I both looked at each other and like, it should have been in the truck. Yeah, it should have been in the truck, but they didn't have...
It's still emotional.
It was, but it wasn't
as
bad. But then you got to when Scotty gives Grace and Patrick the letters, and Grace is laying in bed awake, and then she decides to read it. She shows up at Kenna's house. Yeah. And she goes, it's time to, keep moving. I want you to come and meet Diem. And all of a sudden I could feel it. All of a sudden I'm like, oh crap, this is coming. And we had tissues and Kleenex and stuff. And then she shows up at the house, and Patrick walks up, and she's like, I invited Kenna for dinner. And they walk in, and we were ugly crying. It was the most emotional, like, and this little girl's just so excited to meet Ledger's friend, and then when she tells her she's her mommy, and she's like, did you get a bigger car? And it's but that was those,
and I think that was probably the most, so because when we originally talked about what was the part that made you the most emotional, and Emily had mentioned that it was the letter in the truck, and then I said for me it was when she meets DM in the book. That's where I lost it, was when she gets to meet DM, and I was crying, and same thing, my husband was like, oh Lord. Like, she's meeting her daughter, and he's like, okay, I'm just gonna let you have a moment over there. And you could definitely tell, like Emily said, in the movie, that is the part that they really want you to feel, because holy crap, they make you feel it.
Oh gosh, I'm like, I ran out of Kleenex.
I'm like, we are popcorn lovers. Us, we just love our popcorn. So we had, napkins. We went through all those. Then I brought extra Kleenex. We went through those. I'm like, I'm gonna ugly cry. And then Emily's like, I'm ugly crying. And so we're
really, like, sobbing.
They make you feel that part in the movie. So
it was.
Did you ugly cry?
Yeah, I'll be curious to see, when did you ugly cry? Because in the book, it was the reading. For me, and I was so excited. I was so excited for her to meet DM. I was like, come on, I just want to see her meet DM. And I was emotional. But it wasn't like in the movie. And then it was like the movie, I think because it all happened right after another.
Because the little girl's so cute.
I know.
Yeah.
But the reading happened, and then it was the reading I think we have a storm. Oh yeah, storm. Sorry.
Oh, no.
So then
severe weather coming through today.
We have severe weather because it's 65, and then a blizzard tonight. Welcome to Illinois. So we literally, in the movie, it was all more pushed together. Like, there wasn't really time in between. Really, Grace read it. She went to see Kenna. She comes that evening to meet DM, and all the emotions and everything like that happened. And then when she's sitting in her lap at the end and just playing with her necklace and just it's like
so cute.
Oh, you just
So what did you give your final rating of the book?
Of the book, I gave it a 5 stars.
Okay.
I absolutely loved it. It kept me really, I read it within a total 24 hours.
Yeah.
When I was able to, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Yeah. And those are the kind of books that I love. I love that it had every aspect. It had drama. It had laughter in parts. And then there was, romance.
I give it a 4.5, which is annoying to me. Is anybody else annoyed that you can't rate anything by point in Goodreads?
Yeah, that drives me nuts, because I actually have a lot of half a stars.
Come on, Goodreads, get it together.
Right? Because, and then I'll be like, really, this is a 4.5 or this is a 3.5. But you either give it a 4 or a 3. And I'm like, do you rate up or do you rate down? I don't want to rate down.
Let us know. Do you rate up or down?
How do you do that? Yeah, because that's been driving me nuts. Yeah. So
anyway,
4.5.
What would have made it a 5 for me is actually, again, going back to one of my first statements, I feel like the book or the movie actually portrayed Kenna and Ledger's love story in more of a way that I enjoyed than the book. The book came off a little more cringe to me, the way that, and so I was like, it had me thrown off a little bit on who Kenna really was. And then I was like, well, that's kind of weird how they wrote that, or how she wrote that. But it's not to say that I didn't enjoy the book, because I absolutely did. I ate it up exactly like Emily did. But had the book been written more like the movie, that would have made it a 5-star for me.
That's interesting, yeah. So let us know what you rated it.
Yeah.
And what you thought of the book, what you thought of the movie. If you've seen it, if you haven't and you've read the book, I'm telling you, go see it. And if you've seen the movie and you haven't read the book, read the book.
hope you enjoyed today. We hope you like, comment, or subscribe to us. And also, do you want to tell them what the next book is going to be?
Oh,
Emily?
yes. So we are, we've already picked the book for next time.
And read it.
And we are doing our questions and everything like that. It's The Bakery in Paris by Amy K. Runyon. I think I said that right.
Hope so.
It is a quick little synopsis. It is based from World War I and during World War II. So it's a great read. I could not find it at Barnes & Noble. They did not carry it at ours, but it is on Kindle. So please.
If you're interested, that gives you a little bit of heads up to get into it before we would actually film our video. I really enjoyed this one. It's also written a little bit differently. Two different, like Emily said, World War I, World War II. It's two different time period perspectives. One is from the perspective of a great-great-grandmother and then the great-great-granddaughter, and they're in two different time periods, and I don't know, I ate that one up as well.
Yeah, it was a good one. So let us know, and if you have any suggestions, please, for book recommendations, we're always up for more ideas, and we love every genre, and we will be covering every genre pretty much. We have a book that I never personally would have picked up, but Mandy was like, ooh, this looks fun. So, yeah, we're always up to trying different reads and everything like that. And please leave your comments and questions.
Great. Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you. Have a great day.
Bye.